Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of The Course Grind. I'm Ethan and I'm here with Paul. How are you, Paul?
I'm back. It's been a while.
It has been a while. In fact, I think our last recording we decided to do it face to face, and after that decided we needed a bit of a break from each other.
That just put me off doing it again. Like it's taken a lot of therapy.
Bit of trauma there, mate.
Absolutely.
I have to say, as you guys know, this is our first time for both of us doing podcasting, and you slowly feel like you're getting into a groove of things, and then kind of threw us a curveball, doing a face to face. And that's not to say we won't do a face to face again, but it's quite different because you feel like you're on the spot for the whole time. At least with like this two different screens sort of thing, we can edit as we need to edit and not make it feel junky. But when you're both on the same camera and doing it face to face, you sort of feel like you're just on that spot, and you have to be on your game the entire pod. Because we are videoed as well. For those of you that want to see our ugly mugs on YouTube, you can, right?
Well, the good thing is being remote, I can occasionally have connectivity issues.
As we can see right now. Hey guys, this is Ethan here from The Course Grind, and I'm with Anonymous over there. So today, something that's been burning a hole on your heart for quite some time there, Paul. I hear you want to talk about your coffee shop red flags.
No, coffee flags are a red flag. I don't care what colour they are a red flag. And so I think that's going to be the tone of
photographic evidence of you being quite aggressive trying to run over my coffee flag, and it was a very much a failed attempt of vandalism there, but I've got photographic evidence of this. So you're quite passionate about this.
I've got photographic evidence of you trying to defecate my Land Rover with a coffee flag.
Dude, I was just improving the environment, mate.
Well, I was trying to as well. I was actually trying to get it underneath to mop up the oil that the Land Rover leaks.
Well, that's actually probably a fair point. You left here. I do worry whether you're actually ever going to make it home or not when you're in that thing.
I always make it home in that.
It's just whether you get out of home afterwards. That's the question.
It's like a long-haul flight driving that from the Hawke's Bay back to Wanganui.
Oh, mate, any trip to the Wanganui is probably like a long-haul flight. Oh, so you have an issue with coffee flags. You better start spilling the beans on this one, mate.
I have an issue with coffee flags, and I think that stems from the Village Snob brand especially. Like, that was something I was always fiercely against, and I think we've touched on that in the past, of unsolicited advice and things like that. But coffee flags, generally speaking, they will switch me off stopping somewhere. I think because they're generic, they take away a little bit of the... Well, they don't add to the character of the business. They don't say we're doing something unique or we're doing something different. It's just that cookie cutter approach that I'm going to put it out there for everybody. I'm not a big fan of the cookie cutter approach. Like, I know you should have been sitting down for that revelation, but...
Mate, I think now I need therapy after hearing that.
Yeah, I just cannot be doing coffee flags, especially generic coffee flags. Generic, no, and we'll delve into this a little bit further soon, but absolutely.
I think we should delve right into it now, mate. Like, full steam ahead here.
The reason I weren't delving too much deeper into it is because that's going to come back to my next thing.
Well, I'm going to give you my opinion on coffee flags because, this is a hill that I'm tempted to die on, but not entirely there yet.
Well, I could, yeah, I'm sure that you can be impaled on the flagpole.
I'm going to be honest. I'm not 100% against what you're saying.
They have their place. I will, like but most things,
definitely not 100% with you. I have a massive issue with coffee flags and any flags in an urban environment. Okay? I don't believe they belong in an urban environment. So if you're on a cafe street, down main road, whatever you call it, in the middle of your town, and it's coffee flags, I don't believe they belong there. Not because of necessarily because what sort of portrays the business as. I just believe it's over marketing and over complication. To me, a coffee flag's place is where you need to draw attention faster. And so what I'm meaning by that is if you're at a market and you've got a coffee cart, I believe in a coffee flag. If you are a rural-based or suburban-based business where you don't have anything else around you and you need to slow traffic down to see that you are there, I believe in a coffee flag because it's an instant thing that people can recognize. The word coffee, you instantly know, shit, there's somewhere right there that sounds like coffee. I can stop.
I'll give you that. Yep.
And standard fixed signage doesn't necessarily do that as quickly and as efficiently as a flag does, because a standard fixed sign, it's easier to zone out to. But something that's fluttering away in the wind gets your attention better.
Why do you think I drive a Land Rover? It's marketing. People see parts falling off and you're like, derelict.
Yeah, sure. And then people wonder why their coffee doesn't get delivered.
Now, let's not go there on the podcast.
We're not going to go there. Well,
No,
we both know the real reason that your customer's coffee didn't get delivered is because, back in April you forgot to send an email.
I never
coffee
ran out
delivered if you forget to send the email. I went there.
Yeah, but the thing is, I didn't run out of coffee, Ethan.
No, you didn't. But in a town environment, to me, it feels quite tacky. And I start seeing flags in towns, and I start thinking, I honestly think big brand fizzy drinks. You know who I'm talking about here.
Yes.
Or I think of...
And they would be a red flag.
Beauty and nails, because, my fingernails really need a good job here. Or I think of car sale yards. That's what I see when I see them in town. So I think for me, if you're in a rural setting or a suburban setting where you need to grab that attention, that say, hey, there is actually something here, 100%. We have one on the corner that we use for our coffee bar because we are off the main road. And that corner is a church building. So if you didn't know that there were shops on the side, you wouldn't know. There is signage for the business. But the flag is what grabs more attention. If you're in town, put it away. If you're in town, I don't care about your flag, barring the fact I'm going to run it over because it's flapping where I want to park my car. All right? I'm going to get out of my car and I'm going to look. I'm going to look to see what signs are hanging in the veranda topping, whatever you call it. All right? That's how I'm going to identify that there's a cafe. But if your flag's in my way, I don't care. I'm going to run it over.
The word you're looking for is parapet.
Mate, fucking technical guy over here.
I had to just chop you down a little bit before I say that I agree with you completely on that. There is a time and a place for coffee flags, but in an urban or CBD environment, it just really screams, I have nothing to offer. I have no point of difference. It screams I'm desperate. And again, my background is operating as a car. And I had a lot of people say to me in the early days, and I think I've touched on this before, you need a coffee flag or you need a big coffee cup on the roof because I almost didn't stop. And I thought, but here we are having this pointless conversation because you did, and so clearly I don't need it. And I do not need it devaluing my brand.
But to be quite honest, I'll die on this hill. I do believe you should have had a flag. I honestly do believe that you should have had a flag. Because, one, it would have solved those conversations.
I would say now...
You would never have had to have those conversations. And you would have picked up those customers that didn't stop to have those conversations because they thought you were closed. See? And then you could have had a conversation with the customer saying, hey, how did you find me? And they'll be like, because there was this awesome coffee flag that's generic sitting right there. And I just knew that you were open.
But the other thing is...
So, Brew can't handle the truth here.
No, my issue is, for those who aren't familiar with the Village Snob and the cart, it was pretty impossible to miss. And it also had good coffee, good cart written on the side. And people would come up asking if I just did coffee.
So I hate to tell you there, bro. Good is the death of great.
Yeah, it is. It is.
May the village stop rest in peace.
I wanted to set the bar low. But the thing
I've actually got no words here because there's just so much that can come get that. I just have this image of the first day I ever met you, standing in the cart, right, here on All End, white shirt, vest, bright red fucking tie. I didn't take you seriously that day either.
And that's something that was part of the brand too.
Well, there you go. I remember that how many years on.
Shit, it's been years. But people have said to me over the years, I don't know how you get away with saying half the shit you do. And I say to people, what about someone who is making your coffee in a three-piece suit says take them seriously?
Well, either that or we have to take you way too seriously because you belong in some fancy hotel somewhere wearing the same outfit that the next person and the next person and the next person there is wearing.
Well, it's just trying to hide the fact that I'm a scumbag, really.
I was just sitting here wondering how many tattoos you got, dude.
None.
Are you a legitimate barista? You've got to have tattoos to be a legitimate barista.
Yeah, but I don't have a Bachelor of Arts either. So I'm not actually a real barista. I don't have tattoos, an arts degree, and I don't wear Chuck Taylors. So I'm sorry, I'm not a real barista.
We're both 0 for 3s here. Shit.
And
We might have to get a day job.
I'm just an apprentice. I'm still learning. I'll get my stripes when I'm qualified.
Well,
What are your red flags?
one of my red flags. Well, I know that you want to take your flag and stick it into one of the next topics as well. So
I was going to say I'm going to stick that flag in someone's orifice if they put it next to my Land Rover again. Or I'll make an orifice for it, and you will die on that hill.
Might just get my printing guys to print me a vehicle decal of a coffee flag and slap it on there for you. Just on the rear window.
What is worse than coffee flags? And I was away a couple of weeks ago, and I won't name the town, and I went and had a coffee somewhere, really nice, bougie-looking cafe. And again, I'll touch on this a little bit more later as to, again, one of my red flags.
Oh, fuck, here we go.
But the only thing worse than coffee flags is when you've got your menu items and pictures of latte art printed on the flag outside your cafe. I'm actually going to cross the road to avoid you.
Pictures of latte art printed on your flag?
Yes. Not
okay.
Not stock photos, but like when I say your latte art, I mean my latte art, and my stance is latte art doesn't matter because you can't taste it, and I feel these people were trying to say the same thing in 1,000 words as a picture tells.
Was it a photo of an ejaculator?
No, but it looked like just as big a mess.
That right there is a good reason not to stop in there.
Yes, we were looking at going in, and the moment I saw that from down the street, I'm like, you know what? We're parking here and we're walking. It's a nice day for a walk.
I'm gonna jump ahead a little bit here because you talked about photos.
Yes,
and there seems to be like I'm looking at my list here of red flags, and there's a bit of a 90s vibe going on, 90s vibe. I have a big issue with photos.
Yes.
So give me your photos on Instagram. Give me your photos on Facebook. That's where your photos belong. But if I walk into a cafe and I go sit down to have a meal, and I see photos of the dishes on the menu, I'm out.
Yeah.
Right? Now, it's not something that is actually commonplace anymore. Thank fuck for that.
It is if you're a big chain.
It is if you're a big chain, but you don't see it a lot in cafes anymore unless they're people that are stuck in their ways. It is very dated. It is ugly. It is disgusting, and especially because these menus have had multiple people handling them, so they get grubby as well. So it's not just that I've got photos of the food, that half the time the photos aren't appetizing. The photos are grub, all right? It feels dirty. I don't want to say, like, I don't want to see what I'm ordering. I know that sounds funny. I want it when it arrives to my table, I want to be wow. Or I want to feel good about it, or I want to feel comfort food about it. I don't want to get a picture of it. And let's be honest, half the time, food and pictures looks like shit.
Yeah.
Right? Now, so I have a really big issue with this. I actually had again, I won't say who they were. There was a cafe that I had done some background on. I was like, you know what? I feel like these guys could be a great fit for us as wholesale partners, and put them on the list that I needed to reach out to and start having a conversation with. And I happened to drive past them. They're out of town. I happened to drive past them a few weeks ago on my way down to Palmy. We have fun outing with the kids down there. I realised on the way back, I happened to glance towards the place, and the pictures of food were in the windows. So big windows, and you've got pictures of food. I mean, barring the fact that it makes it look like a real estate office, right? It's not appetizing. It doesn't make you want to go in there. It doesn't make you want to enjoy it. Or, I don't know, it's a big turn off for me. It's a big turn off for me. And I won't go to a cafe that has pictures of food on the menu. If I sit down and they've got it on the menu, I'll pack up the menu and go out. The only exception to that rule for me is if I go to a Thai restaurant. And the reason that's an exception to my rule for me is it seems like every Thai restaurant has it. So if I want Thai, I've got no fucking choice.
Yeah.
All right. It's no different. Like, to me, it's no different than having your blackboard menu up there with all your coffees listed on it, and then having a photo of ejaculates next to each coffee.
Yeah, pretty much. Or
might as well start doing that.
That reminds me, and this wasn't one of my red flags, but I'm absolutely putting it out there anyway. So this is a bonus. If you've got more than one size of long black on your menu, I'm walking straight back out again.
I feel like we cover this topic just about every episode.
Probably, and I lose sleep over this shit. Seriously, lift your game.
But to be honest, I got triggered today in the reverse, where had somebody ask me for a small Americano.
Now you're just trying to upset me.
Because it's not the normal, right? Because I'm going to be honest. Somebody asked me for a large long black. I'll say, okay, so an Americano. All right, so I'm not telling them that they're wrong. I'm just correcting it directly without sounding like a complete dick.
Yes.
Or for a small Americano, because that's completely out of my normal vocabulary. I was kind of like, a what? It took me by surprise, and I was like, staring here, a what?
My approach to this is, and again, I'm trying not to be a dick because I'm in remission. And so if someone asked me for a large long black, I'll show them the takeaway cup, because if you want the Starbucks experience, that's what you're getting. And I will say to them, do you want it poured like a long black? If they want a large long black and they want it poured as a long black, so espresso over water, so they've got the crema, I've got no issue with that. And so the same with a small Americano, I'm like, do you want, so basically a long black size coffee, but with the water poured over the espresso to break up the crema. No issue with that. But we've touched on this before, now that you've reminded me, that there are some cafes out there that muddy the waters of these things, like a 12-ounce flat white. It's like, no, that's not a thing.
I was wondering whether you were about to start a dig at me in regards to 12-ounce cups, but, it's no skin off my back if you do it. Yeah, that would be a cheap shot. Though.
Yeah, it would have been a cheap shot, but I'm all about being classy. I have standards. They're low, but not that low. Right.
Pour some sugar on me. Give me your next one.
Next one.
Something to do with leading in from flags,
Temu propaganda.
Something else that mocker you crazy.
Yeah, Temu propaganda.
Temu propaganda.
Temu propaganda. So basically...
Well, dude, you should stop buying your coffee beans off Temu, all right? Like, I know they're cheap, but there's a reason for that.
Oh, well, they're not even real coffee beans, so we don't have to worry about deforestation. No. So that gets me brownie points.
The miniature size, dude.
What's that?
The miniature size. It's never what you expect.
Yeah, Peaberry. So, yeah, Temu propaganda. Again, a red flag for me is coffee shops that have, like, signs and, like, all sorts of weird coffee novelty items.
Hang on. You jumped ahead, bro.
Did I?
You put a flag in the topic that you're meant to put a flag in. But seeing as you're on propaganda, I need to stop you here because this is getting really difficult for me. I don't know if you realise, for the last, seeing as we're jumping ahead to propaganda, for the last 15, 20 minutes that we've been recording, I've been dropping fucking coffee puns as much as I can all the way through. No. Just for a bit of Temu propaganda for you. You hadn't noticed? Now I'm going to make you go looking when you go editing, aren't I?
I probably will have forgotten by then, if I'm honest.
You probably would have. I just wanted to wind you up a little bit. Because, there's nothing more awesome than walking into a cafe and seeing in big, bold vinyl letters it's saying, you've been on my mind.
Well, I was just thinking, while I'm off editing...
It's as bad as it sounds. Seeing it on the wall is as bad as it sounds, right?
It just makes you feel filthy.
It's icky.
Yeah. I was going to say, while I'm off editing, make sure you order some 12-ounce cups.
Do you know what the best part is? They arrived a minute after I opened. 15 minutes earlier, I ordered them, and they arrived a minute after I opened.
Nice.
So you take that with your flag, and you shove it somewhere.
I'll put it in the corner, out of sight. I'll put it behind the big sign that says, I drink coffee on days that end with Y.
No.
Yeah, no.
No.
Or even motivational quotes. I struggle with motivational quotes. And don't get me wrong, again, people are going to be like, but you used to do them. It's like, no, I did demotivational quotes. Because looking at a motivational quote and expecting to be inspired is like looking at a treadmill and expecting to lose weight.
It's like when you see those big motivational posters, right? I feel like they're anticlimactic. I feel like that do anti what they're meant to. Because you look at them and you read them and you're like, that's meant to inspire me, but it doesn't. So now I feel worse because that was meant to inspire me.
Yes. See,
it's actually funny that this was on your list because I had in the back of my mind going into this that one of the things that really sort of I don't think it degrades a place, but for me it's just a turn off in general. Is when you've got a footpath sign that's a chalkboard and it's got some fucking quote on it. You've
Yes.
got one of your staff members. I don't care. What I'd rather know is what coffee are you serving? Are you open? Oh, wait, you got a flag. I now know that you are open. And what coffee are you serving?
Yes.
I don't want to know about Timu.
No.
I don't want a weather pun or a coffee pun or maybe I'm boring. Maybe I've got no
No,
sense of humor.
I
No.
didn't either. But it seems like it's been a thing in the coffee industry for years. It was like, again, like menu photos were a thing in the cafe scene. It's like it's always been a thing. And I know when I started, I came in from outside of Hospo, so I was looking in from the outside. But again, being a little bit rogue on these things, as I say, my quotes were always demotivational because my theory was if you have that and deal with me first thing in the morning, the day can only get better.
I think for me it actually branches into something a bit bigger here where you know how like on Temu you can buy those sort of I want to say tin like wall hanging thingies that like with motivational pictures, retro looking sort of stuff, but you can also get
I
like
know
the
what you
coffee,
mean.
like the actual coffee cups and stuff. Any form of thing that you put on your walls in your cafe, you really need to think it through. Like
Yeah.
I'm a big believer in ambience. I'm a big believer in how spaces work. And their visual effects. And when you're just putting crap on your walls just to fill a white space, I'd rather it be a bit of white space. Years ago, when we had our full cafe space, we had one white wall because we just hadn't gotten around to doing anything with it. And I wasn't just going to go slap something on there, right? And we got a 2-star review. Loved the coffee, loved the food. Had an issue with our white wall. Believed that we should hang coffee sacks on that white wall to fill the space and really fit it in. And I honestly, I looked at this review and I didn't have a response to it because I didn't know how to tell this person to go back to the 60s. Or whatever generation, hanging coffee sacks on a wall was artwork. It doesn't work.
Were a thing in their time, and I think again they might have been an early third wave thing. A little bit of this is a vague representation of where our coffee's coming from when people started to get a bit more interested about that. But
look, I had in my bedroom when I was 15 years or 16 years old or 17 years old, whenever I started working with Flight, I had 3 30-kilo sacks. They were from the same sort of style. They were like our premium stuff. I think it was the only premium stuff anyone could get at that time. I don't know.
Yeah.
They hung on my wall and I was proud.
Yeah.
And then I grew up and realized, you know what, this isn't artwork. And I took them down.
So maybe it's a case of maturity as a person or as a business.
Are you calling me old now, bro?
I can remember when coffee was discovered, bro.
Yeah, that explains a few things.
So
I'm going to hit you with my next one. This is my big one. This is my like Achilles heel of I'm not walking into your place or I'm walking the hell out. And there's a bit of hypocrisy here as well. So you'll like this.
I'm going to love this then.
I have a major issue with brown cups. Big time issue with brown cups. All right, so a little bit of background here as to why I have an issue with them. And I actually have an issue with black cups as well, but not to the same degree because I do believe that black cups have a place in certain ambient environments. And I love black takeaway cups. Here's my hypocrisy. I love black takeaway cups.
Yeah.
I think black takeaway cups look fucking sleek.
I don't feel they age well.
Brown cups to me was all the rage back thousands and early 2000s. At the same time as bowl lattes were all the rage. So from a psychological standpoint, and there's been a lot of studies done about this, and there'll be some dickhead on the internet who will say, this isn't true, this is rubbish, that's fine, that's your opinion. Sit down. This is my show. Brown cups are not good for mental health. And what I'm meaning by that is, it's not that they're bad for mental health, but the way our body works, the way we receive things, colour has a huge part to play about it. And we know this, right? There's been a lot of study about how colours impacts emotions over the years. I mean, this is why most theatres, or at least old school theatres, had green rooms as their sort of waiting space because green is a calming, peaceful colour. Yellow is bright, it's joyous, it's like vibrant. You know, blues and purples were always quite regal and rich feeling colours. And colour impacts your mood.
Red, I'm in danger.
Or I'm going to go really fast after this coffee.
That's not
brown
coffee.
Cup, wrong sort of Colombian.
Yeah,
brown cups are a big turn off because they are boring. They do nothing for the mood. They don't make you feel exciting. And we've always said that coffee is the sum of all of its parts, right? So it's the sum of the product in it. I'm a firm believer that latte art makes up 30% of the experience of your coffee because you feel what you eat or whatever, however it goes. Same with when you get served a dish off a menu at a restaurant that you haven't previously seen on a photograph, you feel what you eat. The visual is 30% of your flavor. And I feel the same thing about coffee. You chuck it in a brown cup, it depresses the coffee. It depresses the ambience of the coffee, the feel, the mood that you're creating with that coffee. So I see brown cups in places, and it just puts me off. It makes me feel sad. Maybe brown's just not my color, but it makes me feel sad. It doesn't make the coffee feel joyous. It doesn't lighten up my day. This is all subconscious stuff, right? It's not oh shit, that's a yellow cup, that's epic. That being said, our color scheme here is blacks, golds, whites, and timbers, right? With all our greenery. That is our color scheme. That has always been our vibe, right? I have pink cups. I have dusk pink coffee cups. They are the one major color pop in the space because it's not a boring color. It's not a depressing color. It lightens people's moods. Big burly blokes actually don't have an issue drinking out of a pink cup. I've tested this. They don't care. In fact, they like the fact that it's different, and they like the fact that they are big, burly men's men, and they can pull off drinking out of a pink cup. Add color. Bring in your pink cups. Bring in your blue cups. Bring in your green cups, your yellow cups, your orange cups. Steer away from the brown cups.
This makes me laugh on the fact that, again, you know my stance on latte art.
That is a hill that I will die on, but that's another day's topic. Mate, Naporo is not about derelict, though. It is about that boat, and that boat boasts greens and reds. You could have given me fucking Christmas on your coffee machine and I'd have been happier. You know, white for the snow, greens for the trees, red for the decorations. Instead, you gave me brown.
There is no excuse for using the C word. That'll get us cancelled for harmful digital communications. There's no excuse for using the C word.
7 weeks, bro. I might wrap you up a pink cup for Christmas. Get a black ribbon and put a little picture on it.
It needs a red ribbon, otherwise I'm not interested.
After this, dude, you're only getting brown ribbons.
I think that's called baling twine.
For me, honestly, for me, it fits with the ambience thing. It fits with the psychological thing. There's a feel good factor or a brightening to your day, brightening to your mood when there's a bit of color in your life.
Yeah, absolutely. And
a brown cup to me is more muted, less exciting than a black cup. I'd rather a white cup. I'd actually rather a white cup than a brown cup because I suppose a lot of that's also because a white cup looks clean. Right?
Well, one of the
brown cup, brown is the color of coffee, but it's also the color of dirt.
Interestingly enough, we actually contrast it by using white saucers.
No, you still haven't got me. I'm not drinking out of a fucking saucer, bro. I don't actually want your saucer either. I'd rather you serve me the coffee without a saucer, but not in a brown cup. I'd say that you've got like a compromise there, and you can serve it to me in your Espresso Ninja cup, but you smashed that one. This episode is by no means brought to you by Espresso Ninja, but we fully support and fully love Espresso Ninja.
I've got a second one of those. Or have I? Shit, did I break that when I broke 8 cups at once? And that was a good day for Acme.
Were they brown cups?
What's that?
Were they brown cups you broke?
2 of them are brand new tulips that have been used once.
Hallelujah! They were brown ones, right?
Yeah, but what upset me the most is I broke one of my brand new Land Rover Roman cups, the Roman tulip.
Should have gone pink, dude. Should have gone pink.
No. Anyway, let's move on from the brown cup.
I mean, to be fair, and I want a little bit of respect here for those Land Rover cups. About the only respect you're going to get for your Land Rover from me is at least if I walked into a cafe, right, and I saw those Land Rover cups on the coffee machine or near the coffee machine or in a customer's hand, preferably because that means somebody's drinking coffee, I'd be able to say, I know that cup. I know that sign. That's derelict coffee.
Well, the reason I can't use the Land Rover cups is because they leak fluids.
But my point is, at least then I can walk into a cafe and say, shit, there's representation of what coffee they use. This isn't coming from some wholesale supplier that I have no idea what's in the bag.
That is actually my next red flag. And I would love to say that you're probably lining up for that, but I won't give you that much credit.
Oh, I was 100% lining up for that. But,
a major red flag for me is no representation of who is supplying your coffee. And most importantly, who is supplying your training? Because who's supplying the coffee says a lot about the training that you are or aren't getting.
It also says a lot about the quality of the coffee that you're getting as well.
Yes.
And again, this is not a dig at commodity coffee. Commodity coffee has a place, right? 100% has a place.
But if I'm after an experience and I really want to sit down and enjoy a coffee and it wow me, I want to know who it's from.
For me, I want to be able to rely on the consistency. I want to be able to say, I know I'm going to get a 7 out of 10 here. And I'm happy, honestly, if you serve me a 7 in a cafe, if you serve me a 7, I'm happy. All
I'm
right?
practicing. We'll get there.
As long as it's not in a brown cup, I'm happy. If you
I've
serve
got
me
some
an
white
8,
ones
even
just for
better. A
you.
9, fantastic. But as long as you serve me a 7, I'm happy. All right? If it's a 6, we have a problem. All right? But a lot of the time as a consumer, you can identify sort of what you expect based on your previous experiences, based on signage of the coffee roaster,
Yes.
or the t-shirt they're wearing, or the coffee flag that they provided you with their brand on.
I tell you what, funny you say about the signage that's out the front and consistency. So there's a couple of roasters who I won't name, and if I see their signage outside a cafe, I will not go in. And so a couple of years back, we were in Upper Hutt. We'd spent probably an unreasonable amount of time on the internet the night before working out where we were going for brunch based on their coffee. And we found a place that had some really good reviews, caught the train in, and I walked around the corner and I saw whose sign was there and turned straight back around, and a friend said, "What's the problem?" And I said whose sign was there, and she said, "Okay." And we went somewhere else.
I think, I mean,
And it's
I'm
not
the
because
same.
their coffee couldn't be done well. It's because, as you say, so often it's not, and that's down to a lack of training.
And there's a couple of couple of coffee brands out there that, you know, I really love the brand. I think it's really cool, and they're really great. Like, they're often a fantastic team, fantastic product. But every time I've been served it, it's not that it hasn't wowed me. Right? If I'd gotten my 7, I would have been happy. But I found like every time it was a 3 or a 4 or a 5, and I could have just walked in at the wrong time every single time, and that's what I got. In fact, one of the most, to me, what I think out of the biggest players, one of the most funkiest of them all, I have that issue with. Like, I think they're a fantastic brand. I think they've got an amazing story, but I feel that every time I get a coffee served by somebody that is a supplier, it just doesn't match up to that story or to that vibe that I'm expecting. A sign allows me to make a decision before I walk in the door. And so I think there's swings and roundabouts here, though, because, you know, everyone's going to identify that coffee on that sign based on their experiences, right? Because I can guarantee you there are religious people to the roaster that I'm talking about. I can guarantee you there are people that only go to that roaster, only get coffee from a cafe that's serving that. And that's fantastic. That is fantastic because it's all based on perception, right? It's all based on your personal experience and perception. But at least by having it at the door, or in some way, shape, or form, people can make an informed decision before they walk in. Or you actually say, you know, if I've got somebody that's religious, Empire only, and they're driving through Waikato, you know, and having to spend Morrinsville, and they're driving by Loxies and they see the Empire sign out there, they can be like, shit, we need to stop for coffee. There's Empire. Let's stop, right? This episode is by no means sponsored by Loxies Cafe, but if you are in Morrinsville, check them out. But my point is that, you know, it's an easy identifier for people. And no, we don't do a lot of other things, but, you know, I can walk into a cafe and if I see a boring, I want an oat milk coffee, and I see a boring oat milk sign there, because they do provide signs, I can be like, sweet, I know that I'm getting an oat milk that I really enjoy. Doesn't mean that the person behind me wants that oat milk. They might like All-Pro oat milk or another one. But I know for me, this is what it is. And it's the same with coffee, because coffee is obviously that biggest, most important component of your, well, to me, it's still the most important component, because I'm not drinking with milk. I'm just drinking coffee and water.
Yeah.
But I do agree. You need to, I think it's also missed up for roasters that don't, because I've been working with a few potential wholesale partners that, as of current, their roasters that are providing them have said, no, we're not giving you signage. All right. I think it's a real missed opportunity. Like, to me, I feel like the cost of signage on a site is something that you don't sit there in your margin saying, can I make it work? You sit there and say, I will make this work.
Well, the thing is, it's building brand recognition, and also, for me, when I started in coffee, I wanted to go to Flight because I really enjoyed their coffee, and I noticed the brand recognition that came with that, again, some people that had said they wouldn't normally stop at a cart, or they only stopped because they saw the Flight sign. Things like that make a huge difference. And the thing I was going to say before, just a little bit, touch on a bit of a side note here, is, again, you're talking with commodity coffee and that sort of thing, and this is potentially a bit of advice to people moving into the coffee scene, or even people in the cafe industry already that haven't given their coffee too much of a thought. Like, you know, from a roasting perspective, the higher quality the green bean, the more potential it has. Doesn't mean that you won't make a 90-point coffee taste like it's a 75-pointer if you don't know what you're doing. But you'll never make a 75 taste like a 90. Again, a slightly better quality coffee makes it so much more forgiving in that lunchtime rush where your barista is under pressure where, despite best of intentions, things slip. Suddenly you've got your window of possibilities gains a little bit more ground. Having something that is a better quality is so much more forgiving and is going to be forgiving in the cup. It's going to be forgiven by your customer. That is one
I
of the...
think, I think, I think also though, like, that goes to something else you said that, you know, I can roast a 90-point coffee and I can make that a 90-point coffee.
Yeah.
Right. But that doesn't mean that whoever I've sold it to is then going to serve that as a 90-point coffee.
Yes.
That 90-point coffee might become a 6 out of 7, a 6 out of 10. So there's a sort of recognition, subconscious recognition of, you know, the company that is well branded, that is good quality coffee. There's often a higher chance of better support. There's often a higher chance of better training going in. There's often a higher chance of better quality equipment. And even things like that means a lot because, you know, it can come down to as simple as I've worked with people that have had no idea how to properly clean an espresso machine down, right? Because their previous suppliers said, we don't do training. It's not part of it. Or they've just haven't really cared. And so, like, there's a thing there that it's not just about the coffee itself, and it's not just about the training. It's about the sum of all parts, right?
Yeah.
Also, if you're like, to me, if I turn up somewhere and you're not sporting what coffee you're using, it says to me, well, you're probably getting it out of the back of a truck where you get all your other food products from. It's coming from a wholesaler. It's brown bag, no label, or it's cheap rubbish label where it is the bottom of the commodity level in New Zealand, sort of thing. And it's not nice. And honestly, if you're like, and this is not having a dig at anyone, but I'm a firm believer that if you're buying coffee that way, coffee's not your game.
Yeah.
Coffee is not the focus of your business. Your focus of your business better be food, but it's not coffee.
If your coffee is the focus
of your business, you need to be using just about anyone but the back of a wholesale truck.
Yeah. I said when I started the Village Snob that I firmly believe in businesses where coffee is secondary to their food product. Their coffee is secondary to their food product. So I actually just wanted to come back to cup score because we sort of talk about that like everybody knows what we're talking about.
Wait, so you're saying that a coffee that's got a good cup score is a red flag for you?
No. I just wanted to clarify. Green coffee is scored out of 100 points. The reality is specialty coffee only uses the last 20. So realistically, it's a score out of 20. Your coffee that's being served in most cafes is going to be between 80 and 85 if you're lucky. And so when you look at it in isolation in terms of that 20-point score, if you've got an 85-point coffee, that's comparably pretty low when you think that commodity is below that. You're working in a very narrow window there. And so if in terms of blended specialty coffee is typically operating at the lower end of specialty coffee, like Opal's Palo Alto range is above 83 points, which is predominantly where my blends are. Anything above 90 is reserved for auction lots and competition. It is an incredibly narrow spectrum. And so you think once you start getting into that commodity range, if the differential there is between specialty and competition is 10 points, you start to lose all the exciting bits of flavour profile and forgivability in coffee really, really fast. As I've said a few times, if you're focusing solely on price, your customer will be solely focused on price. And this is from a roaster point of view, to a cafe point of view, down to a customer of the cafe point of view. It is a race to the bottom. And would love to see great things be cheap. Like everything, we place more monetary value on the things that bring us greater joy, the perceived quality.
And for me, I think that's also why, you know, I'm a big believer in the 7 out of 10 scale, right? Because, you know, I'm happy with a 7 out of 10. That brings me joy. All right.
Yes.
To be able to sit down and to enjoy a coffee in a cafe and just enjoy it. And actually, to me, it doesn't matter whether it's 7, 8, 9, or 10. That brings me joy to be in that part of the spectrum. Now, if I pay $6 for that coffee or $8 for that coffee, so long as I'm getting the joy that I want, that's the value I place on it.
Well, a 7 is well above average, isn't it? It is a solid average plus.
It
It's
depends on who you're
3.5
asking.
stars. What's that?
I mean, what's average in New Zealand?
I can't comment. I've already upset half the industry.
Hey, I've got one more I want to touch on before we wrap up for the day. And speaking of
Yeah.
wrapping, it's actually about packaging. So I have this thing. When I'm on the road, I'll stop in a servo and I will always get myself a cheese and onion sandwich. I'm a sucker for a really good cheese and onion sandwich. And I've done my time of finding out which servos in the country have the best cheese and onion sandwich. It is a boring sandwich. Let's be honest. It is a boring sandwich. All right. And it costs me $6.50 a pop now. It's a ridiculous price, but I put value on my happiness and I'll pay my $6.50 for my cheese and onion sandwich that I could make at home for 50 cents. All right. And my cheese and onion sandwich comes in this triangular packet. I pull it out of the fridge. I sit down, I rip open this packet and I eat it. That to me, good cheese and onion sandwich. And occasionally if I walk into a bakery, which I don't go to a bakery very often unless I'm with the kids, I might get a hankering for a cheese and onion sandwich and I'll go to the sandwiches section of this bakery and I'll grab my triangle and I'll go and pay for it and I'll sit down, I'll rip open my triangle, I'll eat my cheese and onion sandwich. I walk into a cafe and I see a triangle with a pre-packaged sandwich. I'm out the door. I'm out the door. Because I don't expect to see a cheese and onion sandwich in a cafe. I don't like pre-packaged food in a cafe in general. Definitely don't like seeing a sandwich there. And it could be from trauma of myself working in a cafe that was like the cafe arm of a bakery company. And so I had a massive chiller each day that I had to stack full of these sandwiches, and I didn't believe them being there. But I believe that if I'm getting a sandwich in a cafe, it is being served to me as a sandwich on a plate. It's not being served to me on a plate in a plastic container.
It's
that
not
doesn't
a
work.
coffee lounge.
But also, if you're a cafe and you're selling cheese and onion sandwiches, it's a bit boring, guys. Like, it's the same thing as when you walk into a cafe and you see an A4 piece of paper that says Toasties. Pay X base, choose your fillings, each additional, up to 2 fillings, and each additional filling $1, and you got a choice of ham, pineapple, cheese, whatever. Right? Honestly, no.
By night, you're a fish and chip shop.
No. Give your chef some credit. Give your chef some credit. Let them come up with a freaking epic toasted sandwich. Put it in your cabinet. Put it on the grill when a customer orders it. Put it on a plate. Let it be epic. Give me something with like corned beef and kasundi or pickles. I don't want to sit there and say, do I feel like pineapple on my toasty today? I mean, I had it on my pizza last night and realized that pineapple doesn't belong on a pizza, you know? Give me some, and it's the same thing with a sandwich. I want to walk in and I want to see a fresh, full-on, doorstopper-looking sandwich that I'm like, oh my gosh, that looks epic. And that's going to come served to me on a plate, cut up, ready to devour and really enjoy. I want to see a cheese and onion sandwich in your cabinet. I don't want to see an egg salad sandwich in your cabinet. I don't want to... Guys, get it out of the pre-packaging. Like, at least if you're going to sell me a cheese and onion sandwich, save yourself $1. Save me $2 because I'm not paying $10 for an egg salad sandwich. Take it out of the packaging and slap it on the table.
But again, if you're going to do those things, because some of those classic Kiwi staples are good, but put your own mark on it. Don't... Like, it needs to be banging. And the fact that I'm coming back to the fact that you were saying that you're stopping and getting it at a servo. Again, there is still the demand for those things, but
there's a place for them.
When you're being outmaneuvered by the servo, and I've said this before, hospitality is being outmaneuvered by servos. In a lot of cases, the pies are better. So many people, and again, the Reddit thread that inspired this, so many people saying that the servos are better for their coffee. Hospo's being outmaneuvered by service stations. The only thing then that you can do is create atmosphere and hospitality, like the name suggests, building that community. And otherwise, let's face it, you're going to be ordering your coffee and your cheese and onion sandwich off an app, and it's going to be getting spat out of a vending machine.
But mate, you hit it where I was about to go there, because a perfect example of this that I think actually will hit home more for people that are sitting there saying there's nothing wrong with this, is if I walk into a cafe and they have a savoury section with homemade pies, mate, I love a good butter chicken pie. Give me a good butter chicken pie, all right? I love a mince and cheese and butter chicken pies. They are my go-to, all right?
That is 2 pies you're talking about, isn't it?
And so what was that?
They are 2 separate pies you're talking about, aren't you? Otherwise, you're going to some very weird places.
No, I'm not that dumb, all right? But I want to see that flaky pastry. I want to see it look really fucking good. Just like I want to see with that sandwich, right? The comparative here of it, walking into a cafe and getting a sandwich out of a triangular box, would be if I walked into your cafe and I ordered a Big Ben pie and its individual packaging out of your heater cabinet.
Yeah.
I'd go to the supermarket and buy a pack of 6. But it is the same comparative to me. It's just pre-packaged stuff that I can get from a supermarket, I can get from a dairy, I can get from a bakery. Oh no, I can't even get it from a bakery, right? Bakeries won't sell me pre-packaged pies.
Here's a weird one for you. Seem you've brought up Big Ben pies.
I've got nothing against Big Ben pies. This episode has not been sponsored by Big Ben pies.
No, and I haven't eaten them for years because I can't because of food allergies anymore, which might have been caused by them. But that's another story. But you were saying you can go and buy the same thing from the supermarket. You can't. You can't. I firmly believe they were made on a different production line with slightly different materials. Sorry, ingredients, I think is the term I'm looking for there. And I say this because, again...
No, materials is probably right.
Yeah, well, and the reason I say that...
But before we say anything more, remember we do have lawyers on retainer.
Yeah, back in the day before... service stations showed cafes how to do their job properly. You'd go and buy a Big Ben pie in a cellophane bag. And I ate far too many of these and on the road and that sort of thing in my 20s. And I never once found gristle in one from the servo. Almost every single one of these same Big Ben pie, theoretically, that I got from the supermarket had gristle in them. Answer me that.
No, to be fair, I haven't had a Big Ben in a long time, but I am on the same page as you there. I hate gristle.
Conspiracy theory. Get out the tinfoil.
I'm one of these people that if I get one piece of gristle on my pie, I'll throw it out the window. If I get 2 pieces of gristle out my pie, the pie's out the window.
Yeah,
I don't do gristle.
No.
And that's with any dish. That's not even with a pie. If I make my own dinner and I get 2 pieces of gristle, my dinner's done. My appetite's gone.
And that's same with
My point here, though, is right. You're not going to go slap a Big Ben pie and individual packaging into your cafe and sell that. So don't slap your sandwiches into a cardboard box.
Yeah.
Let your sandwiches breathe. Let them live. Let them show off their curves and all the juices and all the goodness in them. Don't slap them.
We're still talking about sandwiches. Right. I thought you might add something else on your screen there.
Multitasking, mate.
But it's interesting talking about the gristle and so on. That again, that comes back to that. Good quality ingredients make the world of difference. Customers notice. And again, it might not be everybody that is switched off by it, but it will certainly be it's something that doesn't go unnoticed, and there'll be a good number of people like, you know what? I'm not going back to that.
And it isn't just ingredients though, is it? It's the ingredients of everything there. So it's your staffing and your training, it's the quality of the product, it's the music, it's all. People notice. And you can say that they don't, but you've got to remember when you're in this game and when you're in any industry that you aren't selling to yourself. You might love death metal, but when you're in a retirement village cafe, death metal is not the jam. All right? You also might sit here and say, because I know I've touched on a lot of things that really I feel are old school stuff and old school ways of doing things. And your answer to that might be, yeah, but that does fit with my clientele because my clientele are older. And that's cool. But at the same time, you need to look at the trajectory of your business because if you're only working with an older generation of people, at some point, they're not going to be there. And if you're still doing the same sort of stuff, you're not going to have a business.
And so that's interesting.
You've got to sell to the people. You've got to accommodate the people that you are selling to because they are your target market. They are your clientele. But you also need to do it in a way where you're moving towards the next generation or towards what's current. Don't get stuck in the past.
Yes. And I heard a story the other day again, just before we...
Make your brand known. Go buy a coffee flag and go get somebody to wave it on the street side outside of your cafe. Be noticed. Be current. Get a flag.
Just before we wrap up, it's interesting you say about that as well, because I was made aware of a cafe that had closed recently, after like 20 or 30 years. And again, it was that not wanting to put prices up, wanting to be able to help people and so on, which is a lovely sentiment. But again, as filthy as it is, like capitalism and cannibalism are the same. They both taste better than they sound.
Talk about...
But no, seriously.
Careful you don't choke us on gristle there, bro.
Yeah, first and foremost, your business has to make money, otherwise it's not going to be able to help anyone. And making money is not a dirt.
Want to make another disclaimer here? Neither of us are cannibals that I am aware of.
I thought you were going to say neither of us are making money.
it's a good thing I didn't say neither of us are capitalists, eh?
But no, it's that fact that you need to make money to be able to actually run your business, but again, that wanting to be able to help people. If you're not making money, you can't help anyone. You can't help your staff. You can't help your suppliers. You become a liability. And so there's a cafe that had been around for about 30 years, and I was told about this the other day. There was an interview. I haven't read it, but the sentiment was, again, by the sound of it, a really lovely proprietor who wanted to be a bit of a pillar of the community and help people. And again, for those customers to be able to afford to come in and have their treat or however. But the problem becomes that no matter how much you want to help those kinds of people, there's always going to be people out there who don't actually need the help, but they will take advantage of you if it's there, and you can't tell the difference. That is the problem.
And look, and you see a lot of it, I mean, all right, again, this episode is not sponsored by Gordon Ramsay. But if Gordon Ramsay wants to come on the show, we'll by all means have him on the show. But
he's going to tell you to watch more than I do.
He's going to tell me to fuck off, a fucking donkey, and I know it. But if you look at a lot of his kitchen nightmare shows, and it's television programs, right? But the reality is that we see a lot of this sort of stuff in America, where they have that sort of early bird 4:00 dinner special, right?
Yeah,
there is a reason for the elderly, $10 meal or whatever it is. There is a reason why businesses go out of business. And yes, it is great that you want to be catering to a certain demographic, but you've got to look at the broader spectrum, and you've got to stay current, all right? So that $10 meal, make it $15. Make it just a little bit more bougie. Make that period shorter, whatever you need to do. But you can't stay doing the same thing. Doing the same thing over and over and over again is ludicrous if it's not working. If it's working and the system works, don't stop it. But if it's not working, you can't keep doing it expecting something different. You can't And the reality is that the world has moved on from photographs on their menus. They have moved on from prepackaged food in a cafe environment. They've moved on from brown cups. And they want to know who's roasting their coffee so that they know that they're not getting 70s roasted coffee.
Yes.
They don't want to see your tin and vinyl decal writing on the walls. It's tacky. What they do want is they want to be able to know that you are there. So when they're driving down the road, they can see that coffee flag and know that they can get a 7 out of 10 coffee. Guys, that's a wrap for today. Thank you all for listening. Thank you, Paul, for being here. Take it easy, people, and we'll see you on the next one.
It's been a while, but thank you for sticking around for this long, and we'll try and get another one in the bag soon. And
Sounds
you can
good.
be sure that it will be as spicy as Ethan's butter chicken mince and cheese pie.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. Take care, guys. Peace.
See you on the next one.
Beam me up, Scotty.